Right, children. So let's start. Today we're gonna start the second part of computer hardware. Last day we discussed there are 5 main components here in computer hardware. So those are input, output, then processing unit, and after that memory and storage. So those are the main 5 components we discuss in computer hardware basics. So last day we discussed input devices, processor, and again yes, that those two, right? Right. So today we're going to discuss about memory and output devices. Here memory that will again divide into two: storage and main memory, right? So we're going to discuss that those 3 components today. Right. Initially we're going to discuss about computer memory. Right, children. So memory is the electronic holding place for instructions and data. So here we have to store the data and instruction in the outside world, because through using the input devices, the user is going to insert outside world information and data, and again their instructions to the computer. Then everything that going to be inserted into the computer must be stored in somewhere. මේ අතුලට ගන්න input කරන දේවල්, data, information, make instructions, මේ කියන හැම එකක්ම they have to be stored somewhere in an electronic format. Right? So then memory is the place where the computer can store this information and instruction and data. Right? So normally in computer memory there are 3, actually 4 registers: cache memory, primary memory, and secondary memory. So registers we already discussed in the CPU lesson, because in CPU registers are inside the CPU, and that is a memory unit inside the CPU. So here, as computer memory, we're going to discuss the other 3 categories. Those are cache memory, primary memory, and secondary memory. Right. So as you can see in the image, cache memory is located between CPU and primary memory. This is secondary memory. So the basic activity or the basic purpose of this main memory is to hold data before sending them to the CPU. Right? Every time all the data that we will input into the computer using input devices and again using secondary storage devices, everything has to be stored in the main memory or the primary memory before sending them for processing. That is because the CPU only going to communicate with the primary memory. CPU කතා කරන්නේ හැමතිස්සෙම primary memory එකත් එක්ක විතරයි. The main reason is the speed, reading and writing speed. So CPU is a device which calculates data in a higher speed. Actually, it can process more than 5 billion instructions in a second. So that much speed is there. So then to perform in that speed, such a speed, it must need read and write access to the memory in similar speed. So then primary memory provides such a speed, reading and writing speed, and therefore all the data before processing has to be stored in the primary memory. Now process කරන්න කලින් හැමතිස්සෙම primary memory එක store කරන් තියා ගන්නවා. You can see that here. So if I use the pointer, right. So all the data that we're going to input, children, give me 1 minute. Right, Chirana. Thank you for staying. All right, so here, all the input devices are connected to the primary. Connected means it's gonna send the data directly to the primary memory, and all the output devices is also connected to the same. Okay, everyone. So then all the instructions and data will be initially stored in primary memory. Then they will be sent to the CPU for processing, right? So the purpose of this cache memory is to increase the efficiency of communication between CPU and primary memory. So the purpose of this cache memory is to increase the efficiency of this communication. මෙන්න මේ communication එකේ efficiency එක වැඩි කරන්න තමයි cache memory එක use වෙන්නේ. For example, assume that we're going to input some data and instruction. For example, we're going to add 7 like this. So here, these are instructions. These are data. So this data will be sent, this data will be sent to the CPU from primary memory for processing. After that, this instruction has to be sent there again. After that, again, this data. After that, the same instruction, that is the plus added. So that instruction also has to be sent from primary memory to the CPU. In that case, you can see there is a distance between these two. So through bus, data bus and address bus, command bus, control bus, right? Using those channels, this data has to flow from primary memory to the CPU. In that case, what the operating system is going to do, it's going to save this instruction here in the cache memory. So then you can see it is located much closer to the CPU, and this is the speed of this also higher than RAM. Right? So in that case, in next request, that this instruction will be sent to CPU from here. Then you can see the process will be now speed up than the previous time. Again, this will send here, and plus will be taken from here. Right? So it doesn't have to flow or send through a distance like here. මෙච්චර තරම් දුරක් මෙයාට මේක අර data bus වල control bus වල යන්න වෙන්නේ නැහැ. දුර අඩුයි. සහ මෙයාගේ speed එක වැඩි. So now you can understand that the main purpose of this primary cache memory is to hold frequently used instructions. Frequently used instructions and send them to the CPU in a higher speed. So normally what happens when CPU is going to process, it will search for its instruction, additional instruction in the RAM. Before that, it will check cache. If the instruction is not there, then it will check for primary memory. If it found here, then that will be sent directly from the cache memory. Then you can understand that the communication between these two devices, primary memory and CPU, is increased. The efficiency of this communication is increased because of this cache memory, because of the use of this cache memory. Got it? If you have any questions, you can ask, right? But cache memory එක තියෙන්නේ මේ speed මේ communication එක speed up කරන්න. එහෙම කරන්නේ කොහොමද යා? Frequently use නිතර පාවිච්චි කරන instructions cache memory එකේ තියාගන්න. තියාගෙන අවශ්‍ය වෙලාවට මෙතෙන්ට දෙනවා. ඒතකොට මෙච්චර දුරක් instructions වලට transmit කරන්න වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ නිසා කාලය අඩුවෙන් පාවිච්චි වෙන්නේ. එහෙනම් communication එකේ speed එක වැඩි වෙනවා. Right? That's the main purpose of cache memory. Right. Again, this cache memory is also divided into 3 levels. So you can see that in this image. Right. So this is the main memory. And this is cache, what we refer as 1 unit. Cache, right? So now you can see there are 3 levels of them. Level 1, level 2, and level 3. In the image also you can see that the capacity of level 3 cache is somewhat higher than the others. Here, this has the lowest capacity. But when we consider the speed is higher. And this is less than that. And this one, again, less than the previous one, the speed. Right? So here in L1 cache, the speed is higher, but the capacity is somewhat lower than L2 cache. L2 cache, speed is lower than level 1, but the capacity is higher. Here, speed is lower than level 2, but the capacity is higher than level 2. Then RAM. Then the speed of the RAM or the main memory is again somewhat lower than cache 3 level. Right? So, however, this entire memory is called as the cache memory. What you must understand here, that is divided into 3 components, 3 units, and they were located much closer to the CPU than RAM. So, මෙයාලා CPU එකට තියෙන ළඟයි මේ ඔයාලට පේනවා දැන් මේගොල්ලෝ cache level 1 එක ළඟයි. In some cases the cache level 1 cache will be there in the CPU as well in some systems. Right? Level 2 එක ඊට ටිකක් දුරයි. හැබැයි capacity එක වැඩි speed එක අඩුයි චුට්ටක්. So මේ දේ කරලා තියෙන්නේ to manage the memory with the cost. So developing a cache memory is highly costly. To speed up the process, the processor need high speed read and write access. Therefore, this cache was introduced and it has some smaller capacity, but it can work or perform in higher speed. And it was divided into 3 levels, and all these things are done to manage the memory with the cost. Cost එකත් එක්ක memory manage කරන්න තමයි මේ වැඩේ කරලා තියෙන්නේ. All right, everyone. Is it clear? The cache memory? හැමෝටම පැහැදිලිද? ඇයි මේක තියෙන්නේ? මොකක්ද එකෙන් වෙන්නේ කියන එක? Again, this is very small capacity, you can see. Up to 50 MB, right? Okay then. How does it work? That is what I explained earlier. You can read it and understand. Again here, if the faster and where is faster and when the relevant instructions are found, it is called a cache hit. So when the CPU check for instruction in the cache, if it is matched, we call that a cache hit. So if cache hits are there, then the speed of processing will be high. Again, if that is not in the cache memory, then that's cache miss. Right? So those are just words. The advantages you can see, cache memory is faster than main memory. It consumes less access time as compared to the main memory. Store the program that can be executed within the short period of time, and again store data for temporary use. So those are the advantages. That means if the data or the instruction is there in the cache memory, then the processing will be somewhat higher. Processing speed will be somewhat higher. Right? Again, hash limited capacity. That is disadvantage. Again, it is difficult to increase the capacity of cache. That is because the cost. So developing that much speed memory is highly costly. So then to manage that, the RAM is used, and again, cache memory is located in 3 levels. Right? Okay. So that is all about cache memory, children. Then primary memory. So in primary memory also there are 2 categories. One is random access memory and read-only memory. So those are the 2 categories here. Then there are DRAM, SRAM. Again, we will discuss these ones. These are actually technologies which are used in these categories. Right, children. So random access memory is the main memory of the computer. So as I explained earlier, all the data and instructions will be stored in the RAM before processing, and again after processing also they will be stored in the RAM before sending to the output devices or storage devices. So understand that RAM is the main component which keep all the data and instructions which are to be processed now currently. If I just open a program, that will be loaded in RAM. If I just type something in Word or Notepad, those data also will be stored initially in the RAM. When only we save them in the hard disk, they will be saved to the hard disk. Otherwise, they will be there in the RAM. That is why in some cases, if we certainly close our program without saving data, the data will be lost. In newest versions like Microsoft Word, Excel, those newest versions, they will keep a temporary file with the data. That is something else. But technically, all the programs, when we develop something, when we just type something, when you just insert some data, or if we edit a photograph or anything, all the things that we have done using input devices with the software will be temporarily saved in RAM. So if we suddenly close the software without saving that, all the data will be lost. That is because it is temporary. If we want to save them permanently, we have to save them in the secondary storage devices. That is why we're going to save files. Again, this RAM is, it's a volatile memory. Volatile. The meaning of volatile is RAM needs the active power supply to keep the data. So when we just cut off the power, the memory will lost. That is why when we just shut down the computer, all the data stored in the main memory will be erased. That is why it is called as temporary memory. And you must aware that the meaning of the word volatile, that is, the device needs an active power supply to keep data, to make active the memory. Again, the capacity of RAM is now in US computers, we use normally 8 GB, 6 GB RAM cards. Again, if it is a server or some high-end device, high-end computer, then they need 16 GB, 64 GB, like that. Highest amount of RAM, highest capacity of RAM is necessary for high-end computers, but normal day-to-day daily use computers like laptops, desktop, we may need 4 GB, 8 GB RAM capacity will be enough. So the increase in the capacity of RAM will be affect to the speed of processing. That is because, and again, multitasking. So if I am going to open Microsoft Word, again, PDF file, some internet browsing, and all these things, then the memory usage will be higher. So if you're gonna use your laptop for multitasking, actually, then you may need high capacity of RAM.
excuse me.
Yes.
So the RAM වල තියෙන සර DDR1 2 කියලා ඒ වලින් ස්පීඩ් එක දෙක කියන්නේ.
Oh, speed එක. Reading write speed එක. ඒක version එක. DDR2, DDR4 දැන් තියෙනවා. DDR ඔය විදිහට improve වෙන්නේ speed එක. Technology. ඇත්තටම technology එක. Technology means the speed, reading and writing speed. Okay. Right, children. So here in the task manager, you can see the performance of RAM or of the computer. See, now this is the amount of RAM is used. Now in my computer, 80% of RAM is used. You can see this is the heavy consumer of RAM, Firefox. So normally web browsers are highly occupying the RAM. That is because it's always refreshing. You're always communicating with the other devices, internet, and they always refreshing. So then they occupy a large amount of RAM always. Again, see Photoshop. I have opened Photoshop and it is the processing is 0, but it has already used 16 MB of RAM. And see Microsoft Word, 2.0 MB of RAM. Zoom, 1.5 MB of RAM. Like that, these are the processes which are run in my computer currently, and how they access RAM, how they occupy the capacity of RAM is shown in this task manager. If I close this one, Firefox, see, now it's reducing 62, 53. See, now the capacity of the usage of RAM is reduced to 53% when I closed Firefox. Like that, all the programs that I have opened currently will be there in the RAM, and all the data and instructions related to those programs also will be there in the RAM, right? Because RAM is the main memory of the computer. Right, children. Then there are some categories actually. This is not DDR, DDR2, DDR3. That is a technique. Here, this is a type of RAM, right? DRAM, dynamic RAM. Right? So normally, each memory cell in the DRAM is made of one transistor and one capacitor. So that means in a RAM is electronic device which can keep data Right, children. So RAM is made up with transistors and capacitors. So normally in your electronic lessons you may learn them. So one transistor connected to the capacitor is called as a one cell in RAM. So which can store 1 bit. So if it is a 4 GB RAM, you can see how much of capacitors and how much of transistors are there in the RAM. So then, because these capacitors are used, they can store a voltage, a current, for a single period of time, a temporary time period. So then, so you can see these when we store a charge in this capacitor, it will losing when starts. It will lose the charge. Hence, data are stored in less than thousands of a second. So therefore, the data in this capacitor will be stored for a less than 1,000 of a second. තප්පරයකින් 1000 එකකටත් වඩා අඩු කාලයක් තමයි මේ data එක රැඳිලා තියෙන්නේ. Therefore, this is very important. These DRAMs, dynamic RAMs, need to be refreshed always. මෙයා refresh කරන්න ඕන this. Again, මේ capacity එක අලුත් කරන්න. That is how it can store data. That is why it is called volatile. When it doesn't have a power supply, active power supply, the data will be erased. That is because the capacitors are there, their charge will lose with the time. Then when we just cut off the power, the memory will lose. So මෙයාගේ capacitors තියෙන්නේ, එයාලගේ charge එකක් තියෙන්න ඕන, capacitor charge එක වහිනවා සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කාලයත් එක්ක. එතකොට මෙයාට active memory එකක් තියාගන්න නම් හැමතිස්සෙම නම refresh කරන්න ඕන. In order to do that, it must need a power supply. So when you just shut down the computer, the data in the memory will lost. Okay. So here, primary memory of most of the personal computers is made with DRAM. So in the laptops, desktop computers that we use, they have this DRAMs because of the cost. Cost එක අඩු කරන්න තමයි ගොඩක් වෙලාවට memory වල මේ හැම එකම use කරන්නේ මේ හැම technique එකම පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ. Right. Again, static RAM. So the technique used in static RAM is flip-flop. I think in electronic lessons you may learn flip-flop. So flip-flop is something like this. Flip-flop is something like so output of this will be fed to here and output of this will be fed here. Right. So then these flip-flops, when we give it an input, it will remain in the flip-flop. See, මෙතන යනවා මේ විදිහට මාරු වෙවි flip-flop එක මේ charge එක හිටිනවා data එක. So then this SRAMs doesn't need to be refreshed. But the cost to develop such a memory is very high. So then SRAMs are used in very special applications where it necessary. Right? So මෙයාලා refresh කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. හැබැයි use වෙන්නේ හරියම rarely. මොකද ගණන් නිසා ගොඩක්. So what you must know, there are two types of RAM, dynamic and static. In normal computers, personal use computers, we use dynamic RAM. And again, they has to be refreshed always. That is because the capacitors are used there. That is a technique. And the charge of capacity is going to be loose with the time. So then they has to be refreshed. To refresh, it needs a active power supply. Right? After that, the second category of primary memory is read-only memory. So this read-only memory is embedded to the motherboard in the manufacturing process, and it holds instructions which are the basic instructions of the computer motherboard. අනිත් category එක තමයි RAM එකෙන් පස්සේ අපිට ගන්න ROM එකෙන්. Read-only memory. That is another memory device, memory chip. See, this is the RAM card. This is the main memory actually. In primary memory category, as I shown you earlier, there are two types: random access memory RAM and read-only memory. So RAM, it has DRAM and SRAM. We discussed that earlier. Now we're going to discuss about read-only memory. So this is also a very small memory which keeps the basic instructions which has to be executed for the boot up process of the computer. Computer එක boot කරලා log කරලා අපිට නැත්නම් අපිට වැඩ කරන්න පුළුවන් තරමට ගේන්න ඕන කරන instructions තමයි ROM එකේ තියෙන්නේ. Again, the data in this ROM or the instructions to the ROM will be fed or will be written during the manufacturing process of the chip and the motherboard. But even this is called as read-only memory. It has some variations like programmable ROM. PROM can be programmed using a special hardware device called programmer, PROM programmer. So if you want to update the firmware of a device, then you have to pre-program the ROM. Normally it is very difficult. So ROM means read-only memory. We can't write into the ROM, but there are some special categories which are called programmable ROM. So they are program කරන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි ඒක read-only memory එකක්. So the computer or the users may not able to write into ROM. That is why it is called as read-only memory. If it is RAM, the CPU can read and write. It can do both the activities with the primary memory or the RAM, right? But here CPU can only read these. That is why it is called as ROM. But normally the ROM, some categories of ROM are there. So programmable ROM, erasable programmable ROM. We can erase all the data and instruction in the ROM, and again we can add them again. Right? So like that, there are several categories of that. Okay, children. So that is about primary memory, RAM and ROM. Again, ROM is a non-volatile memory. See, it's a non-volatile memory. That is because it doesn't need an active power supply to keep the data. Right. Okay. So do you have any questions regarding the RAM and ROM, primary memory? Okay, all right, everyone. So then we can move to the last category, that is secondary memory. So we're going to stop somewhat early today, right? Secondary memory, these are non-volatile. So meaning of non-volatile means it doesn't need an active power supply to keep the data. It is large capacity. Right? So hard disk, it has 2 TB, 4 TB, 16 TB like that. There are high capacity devices, cheaper as compared to the primary memory. So these storage devices are cheaper because the reading and writing speed of these storage devices are lower than the primary memory or the main memory. So develop memories with high speed reading and writing ability is costly. එකට යන වියදම වැඩි. කියන්නේ ස්පීඩ් එක reading and writing speed එක වැඩි කරලා memories හදන්න යනකොට යාට යන cost එක වියදම ගොඩක් වැඩි. Therefore, in storage devices, their capacity is high, but the reading writing speed is somewhat lower. Comparing lower to the primary memory. That is the reason the CPU is not going to communicate directly with these storage devices. Every time if a data in these storage devices need to be accessed from the CPU, they has to be loaded to the RAM before executing. So මේ ගොඩක් slow devices නිසා මේ වගේ තියෙන data එකක් access කරන්න ඕන නම් CPU එකෙන් ඒක හැමතිස්සෙම ඊට කලින් RAM එකට load කරගෙන ඉන්නවා. RAM එක හරහා තමයි CPU එකට transmit කරන්නේ. Main reason is reading and writing speed. So CPU is never going to communicate with these secondary devices, secondary memory devices. Okay. Then in secondary memory devices, there are fixed devices and removable devices. So hard disk is a fixed device. Every computer needs a hard disk. That is the main storage component of the hard disk, and that is called as a fixed device. So normally in today also we are using magnetic hard disk drivers. In these magnetic hard disk drivers, as you can see in the image, there is a magnetic plate, and again the data will be stored in a magnetic structure. So data will be read out using this reading writing head, and the electromagnetic field, generation of electromagnetic voltage is used to read the data. So to make a data store in magnetic strips විදියට නැත්නම් අපි කියන magnetic චුම්බක රටාවක් විදියට ඒ data එක මේ read කරගන්නේ head එකෙන් in binary format, ones and zeros, right? So this magnetic disk is going to rotate in a very high speed, and this disk also will move from here to here. Then in these hard disk drives, it has sequential access to data. I will explain that. If we take the random access memory RAM, the meaning of random access is there. That means if it has a data here, let's say like this. Assume that this is RAM and there's a data here, and the second one is here, and the other one is here. Right. Whenever the CPU needs this data, it can randomly access any location of the main memory. See, if the CPU is here, it can directly access this location. And after that, it can directly access this location. After that, this location. Like that, randomly, it can access any location of the RAM. This is called random access. But when we consider the hard disk, when that data is going to load into the RAM, assume that data is here, here and here. When the operating system going to read these data to store them in RAM, this data has to be read out from this way. Right, starting from here, it has to come this far, and that will find the data. For second one, it again has to come in this way, access the second data here, then here, and after that, it can find the data. It always has to start from the beginning. If we need to find the third location after that, then again has to start from here. Then it can reach the third data. So like that, it always has to start from the beginning to reach the relevant location. This is called sequential access. Every time it has to start from the beginning, sequential access. That is why these devices are somewhat slower. Actually, not somewhat, those are slower than the random access memory, because this memory can be accessed randomly. මෙයාලා හැමතිස්සෙම මුලින් ඉඳන් පටන් ගන්නවා data එක ගාවට එන්න ඕනේ. මෙයා කැරක් ඒ අදාළ තැන් ටිකට මේ head එක යවන්න ඕනේ. That is how the hard disk work, and that is how the data in the hard disk is accessed. Sequential access, right? Right, everyone. Then there's another new technology is there, that is called solid state devices, drivers, SSD. So in SSD devices, this is used a way of storing data as electronic signals, digital signals, not in magnetic structures. So then it can work very faster. Again, to develop such a memory is highly costly. The cost is very high to develop such memories. So then we can purchase 1 TB magnetic hard disk around 10-12,000. But if you're going to purchase such a SSD device, that will cost about 30-40,000. The cost is very high. Right. So outside of newer PCs and high-end laptops, we can find SSDs, because newest laptops always come with SSD hard disks. So most of the devices, laptops, they have 2 hard disks, SSD hard disk with small capacity, and another magnetic hard disk with somewhat higher capacity, like 1 TB. So then the memory can be managed, and the performance of the computer will be higher if we install all the operating system, softwares, and everything in the SSD device. Because reading and writing access speed is very high in SSD devices compared to the magnetic devices. So when the reading and writing speed is gonna increase, the performance of the computer will be increased accordingly, right? For අලුත් වෙන devices වල SSD hard disk then used වෙනවා. Again, children, if you have questions, you can raise anytime, right? Okay, then optical devices. I think you already have seen CD, DVD, Blu-ray devices. So those are called as optical devices. And in these devices, the data will be stored as bits and bumps. You can see bits are there, then bumps. So ones and zeros will be identified using a laser beam. These bits and bumps will be identified using laser beam, and that will be converted into a binary code. 1010 like that. This will be converted. And again, you can see the surface of a CD, DVD, and a Blu-ray disc. In Blu-ray, you can see a blue laser beam is used to access the Blu-ray disc. Okay. Then here, right, children. So in CD surface, the size of bits and bumps is higher than the other ones. So you can see very small amount of data can be written into a CD surface. And the laser beam which is used to read the surface is also, the amplitude is higher. Right? Then it can store only 0.7 GB, 700 MB of data. Then if we consider a DVD, you can see the surface. The size of these bits and bumps is much smaller. So therefore, much capacity than CDs can be stored in DVDs. Again, this is the space of Blu-ray disc. You can see it can store, using a Blu-ray disc, we can store 25 GB of data. Again, you can see the size of these bits and bumps. Those are very smaller. And blue laser beam will be used to read this data, which has 0.1 millimeter of amplitude. Right. So you must understand here, CD, DVD, and Blu-ray. The technique which is used to store data is bits and bumps. And again, the size, depending on the size of bits and bumps, the disk technology is different. So in a DVD, we can store 4.7 GB, but Blu-ray disc, we can store 25 GB of data. Right? CD, DVD, and Blu-ray, right? Again, some recordable optical devices are there. So those are called rewritable devices. We can erase the data and rewrite. In some cases, we can write data into the CD, and again we can some additional data to CD, right? Rewritable. So DVD and CDs are there. You can just read the note, okay? Right. After that, children, USB memory sticks. I think you also have used them. So that is also considered as a storage device. Actually, that is not a storage device. It's called as a data traveler. So most of the people misuse this device. I mean, most of the people gonna use this as a storage device. But what happened ultimately? This can be very vulnerable to virus attacks. Then it is most frequently these devices gonna lose every time. හැමතිස්සෙම නැති වෙනවා. එක්ක වතුරට යනවා. එක්ක කලස මුසහක් වදිලා වහය දෙනවා. එහෙම නැත්නම් virus attack එකක් යනවා. So these devices are very vulnerable to these attacks and other damages. So therefore, this is not a good storage device, but this is used as a data traveler to transfer data from one end to the other, one device to the other. That is the actual purpose of this USB memory sticks. එතකොට ගොඩක් අය කරන්නේ මේක use කරන්නේ storage එකක් විතරනේ. Don't do that. This is just a data traveling device, right? Okay. But however, in this now in the category, we're going to discuss it in the storage category. Then children, memory cards. This is also a method of storing data in electronic format. 8 GB, 16 GB, 32, 64, 128. Like those capacities are there. You can store such amount of data in this small memory card, right? Right. After that, we're going to discuss about output devices. So before that, if you have any question regarding these memory devices, you can raise now. Computer memory.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes. Oh, then.
Sir, may primary memory එකේ ඉඳලා secondary memory වල data transfer වෙන්නේ CPU එක හරහා නේද sir? මේ ගිය පාර note එකේ තිබ්බා ALU එක gateway එකක් විදිහට වැඩ කරනවා කියලා මේ primary memory එකේ ඉඳලා secondary memory එකට data transfer වෙද්දී.
ඔව්. ALU එකටත් වඩා මේ control unit එක.
ඔව් sir.
ඔව් control unit එකෙන් තමයි ඉතින් ඇත්තට මේ process instruction ටික දෙන්නේ. මෙතෙන්ට load කරන්න මෙතෙන්ට යවන්න මේක යවන්න කියලා කියන්නේ මොකද SAP කරනවා කියන වැඩක් කතා කරනවා. In operating system lesson we're going to discuss that SAPing. In SAPing data will be transferred between the primary memory and the storage hard disk. So the CU control unit of the CPU and the operating system is responsible for doing that. So responsibility එක තයි වැඩේ කරන්නේ control unit එක සහ operating system එකේ දාගත්තා. Okay, very good. So ask questions, right? Okay, everyone. So we'll let's quickly go through these output devices as well. So there are several output devices we can discuss: monitors, projectors, printers, and sound devices. So if we take monitors, there are two types: CRT and flat panel display. So CRT monitors are old one. So nowadays those monitors are not in use, but we just gonna discuss the technology there. So in CRT monitors, it has a phosphor spread screen, right? Again, here an electronic gun you can see. Through the electronic gun, an electron will be injected to the screen. So then when in the point and the angle it's going to touch the screen, it can emit light. That is the simple, that is the technology behind this one simply. You can just read more and see. However, there are some disadvantages in these CRT monitors. So those are large in size, high power consumption, right? And again, this emit harmful rays, and heat is higher. It generates much heat. So those are the main disadvantages of these CRT monitors. After that, the flat panel displays were introduced. And in this case, there are two types. One is LCD and the other one is LED. So LCD means liquid crystal display. LED means light emitting diode display. So these LED displays, it has more advantage than LCD displays. So these LED displays can consume less power, and the picture quality is very high, right? But it is somewhat expensive than LCD devices, emissive devices and non-emissive displays. So however, the best one is LED displays, right? Again, you can read if you are interested. There are OLED technique. There is OLED technique and some other output devices which are developed with these LED techniques, right? Right, children. Then projectors. I think you have seen projectors. That is also considered as a multimedia output device. So the meaning of multimedia is this can output audio and visual, both medias. That is why it is called as multimedia projectors. And holographic projectors, so then they can create a 3D image of the object. So you can search in YouTube holographic projectors, then they can see how they work, right? So it is used to output a 3D display, 3D image. Right. Again, there are more monitors like LED panels, right? billboards, those things also used. Right, children. Then printers. So there are again several type of printers. Dot metric printers. So this is the less expensive printer, and again the quality of the printout also less. So, but these are in use because when the places where we need the picture quality is not necessary, the output of the printer is not necessary, and again we have, if we have to print large amount, take large amount prints, in those situations, most suitable printer is this dot metric printer. For example, if we consider the electricity bill, so when printing electricity bills, a large amount of bills has to be printed. Again, the quality of the printout is not that much necessary. So in that case, the most preferred printer is dot metric printer because it can give us a printer in less cost. Cost per the cost per printout is very less. So this advantage is there with the situation, the requirement. Most of the time to print invoices, these dot metric printers are used, and again there are some disadvantages. Those are quality is poor and it is noisy. It generates a heavy noise when printing. Print karanaකොට ලොකු noise එකක් generate වෙනවා. Again, you can see the output of the dot metric printer. Again, very less amount of fonts are available with these dot metric printers. But however, depending on the situation and the requirement, these dot metric printers are also usable. Okay. As I explained earlier, if you don't need much quality in the printout, and again, if you are not willing to expend high cost for a printout, then the most preferred printer is dot metric printer. After that, inkjet printers are there. These are cheap and the quality is high, full color. You can print color printouts. And there are several types like bubble jet, inkjet. So jet means these printers have injectors. So they're gonna spray colors into the paper. And the printing speed is higher. Cost per printout is also higher. And noise, this doesn't generate that much noise. So those are the advantages. Therefore, normally in daily use, I mean in office use, in home use, these inkjet printers are most preferred printers. ගෙවල් වල office වල color printout එකක් ගන්න සාමාන්‍ය print එකක් ගන්න පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ inkjet printers. The price is varies with the quality. Then children, laser printers. So these are very expensive, and again cost per printout is also high, but the quality is very good. So in photo printing, invitation card printing, in those cases, these laser printers are used. Very fast and it generates no noise. Laser printer and plotter. So for digital banner printing, this plotter is used. So I think you have seen cutouts there, right? To print those ones, the large scale printing, these plotters are used. And it takes much time to take a printout. And again, the quality of printout varies with the printer settings. The last one is thermal printer. So this is also used in invoice printing. Right. Again, in the ATM machines also these printers are installed. So the receipt is somewhat similar, actually similar to the ATM receipt that you're gonna have when you print something using ATM. So these are called thermal printers. So this can give a very quick printout, and these thermal printers are used in shops always to print invoices, right? Okay. Right, children. So that is about output devices. After that, sound devices, you know, headphones, speakers, those are also considered as output devices. Right, everyone. With this, we're gonna wind up this lesson. So today we discuss about computer memory, storage, and output devices. So again, before winding up, do you have any questions regarding things that we discussed? All right, children, I quickly went through the note because there are some other arrangements there. Right, children, if you don't have any questions, we can wind up now, right? Do you have anything to discuss?
No, sir.
Right, everyone. If you don't have any questions, you can wind up now, right?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, children. So thank you for your participation. Tomorrow we're gonna have the lecture in computer programming. Okay. So goodbye. Have a nice evening.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.